industry perspective, let's now move to the solution side. For every problem, there has to be a solution. For that, I would like to invite Shivakumar Ganesan, who is the co-founder and CEO with Exotel. To give you a background, before founding Exotel, the emerging market first and the largest full-stack customer engagement platform, Shivakumar had two successful stints at Yahoo as a product manager, followed by president of product technology at Flipkart. Despite these defining roles as top organizations, Shivku's entrepreneur itch remained, and this redirected him to launch 𝗘𝗂𝗏𝗏, a medium-agnostic C2C marketplace, in 2010. While setting up 𝗘𝗏𝗏, he realizes a significant market need gap, the lack of an affordable, easy-to-deploy communication solution. He thus made it his mission to start Exotel as a cloud telephony platform for businesses in 2011. Can we welcome him with a big round of applause, please?
Fantastic. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here. Thank you, UBS, for putting this event together. I have actually personally never spoken in a BPO summit ever, so I'm actually quite excited to meet all of you. And I hope the reverse is also going to be interesting. I think I'll hopefully be able to bring in perspectives that perhaps is new to many of you, and hopefully this will be a good 20 minutes that we'll spend together. My name is Shivakumar. That's a longish name, so people call me Shivku. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Exotel. But I'm an engineer by education and product manager by propensity of mind. So today we're going to talk about some trends that we are observing in the customer engagement and customer experience industries, and some of the future trends in terms of technology, and some of the future that we are also building in the company. And one of my colleagues actually spoke to me about the work that Henry Ford did in the assembly line of car production, which I thought was a pretty good, inspiring way to start talking about the kind of work that we are foreseeing and we are doing in the industry. So it turns out that there was a point in time when employees used to go to the car and then, I don't know what they do, fix a bolt nut, do the painting, and then go to the next car, fix the bolt nut, do the painting, and so on and so forth. And if you do that, which by the way seems very obvious to me that that's the way how it's supposed to be, right? But if you do that, it takes about 720 minutes for wrapping up one car. So then, of course, the legendary transformation that Henry Ford brought on the table was that he instead got the car to come to the agent, to the employee. So the employees are basically standing in one place, and then the car basically comes to them, they do the work, the car goes to the next step, and so on and so forth. And might seem a little trivial at this point in time, but back in the first couple of decades of the 20th century, this was revolutionary, and I think in the car industry they still use this even today. And thus was the invention of the assembly line. So change is happening. Change is happening in our industry as well. There are three ways in which I'd like to talk about, three dimensions around which I'd like to talk about change. So the first one that I'm observing is something that actually all of us as end users already know, which is that we are no longer spending time on the same mediums that we used to spend time on even 5 years ago, correct? So I don't know, 30 years ago we were all listening to radio, 20 years ago we were all listening to TV, 10 years ago all of us used to be on Orkut and MySpace. I don't know if you all remember these websites anymore. Nobody even logs into Facebook anymore, right? So we're all on Instagram and WhatsApp, and God knows what's going to come next. So as users, we are moving places very fast. We're also available in different kinds and places. Suddenly there's more YouTube, there's more Hotstar, there's more WhatsApp, there's a lot less of Facebook, there's a lot less of traditional print, and so on and so forth. And so as enterprises and as people who service these enterprises, our job is to help our companies be able to reach their users wherever they are. So this is the first change. Second is with the employees. So, I mean, I think we've beaten the pandemic horse to death, so I'm not going to use that word anymore. Everybody knows that people want to work remotely, and hybrid work is here to stay and all of that, right? So, but what that means from a enablement standpoint, from a technology standpoint, so that's the change that's happening. The last one is new technologies that are coming up. I'm quite passionate about all three of them. We already know about cloud and what that means. We are beginning to understand about what conversational AI means. We'll cover that more in a little while. And then CDP here stands for Customer Data Platform, which is one massive data store, data warehouse from where you could now understand the 360 of the end user. So that's what we mean when we say CDP, Customer Data Platform. So these are some trends that are happening, some changes that are happening in our industry that even as we speak. So I think the way most of us used to set up customer experience systems was something like this. So we used to go to several vendors, and then we used to get servers, storage, telecom lines, so on and so forth. So I think there are about 5-6 different dimensions around which our IT teams used to work. And then through COVID, one more got introduced. I think here we're talking about how the contact center sort of got branched out into, a VPN vendor as well. I think most of you would agree with me. 67% of the BPOs, it seems, basically depended on VPN when overnight everybody had to just work from home. And so the deal about VPN is that we've now introduced one more breakpoint, if you will. So now suddenly it's dependent on the availability of VPN servers and the network of your employees who are working from wherever they are. So this proliferation of number of vendors and we as an entity, as IT teams, as information teams, trying to make all of this work can be sort of thought of as how the workers used to go to the cars, to different cars, and sort of used to get stuff done. And that, in our opinion, is not the most agile way of going about doing things. Point here is that our existing systems, the existing architecture models comes with certain constraints, specifically around agility, the ability to change fast. I just impressed upon all of you that because the world is changing rapidly, the singularity of technology is going towards infinity. It's then important that our future systems, our future architectures are change-proof, can be very agile. So change is happening already. So we did a study with Deloitte, and we spoke to a number of leaders such as yourselves. And 56% of BPO leaders already seem to have some cloud strategy and some piece of their systems already working on the cloud. So this is already being adopted in a big way, and that's happening. And close to about 33% of the leaders also told us that they want to have a cloud strategy, cloud preparedness in the next 3 to 5 years. So I believe that the cloud part of the thought process actually is now ever pervasive. I think everybody sort of now has already begun to see that cloud is the way forward. But one has to ask the question, why is this happening and why is this happening now? And retrospectively thinking about it, I kind of ascribe 3 reasons to it, and this is true definitely in the domestic market. I think that a number of regulatory changes have been brought into place recently. I think about 2 to 3 years, 4 years ago, I think the Department of Telecommunications came up with the UL-VNO framework, the MVNO framework, and they also slashed the rates for the unified license as well. So what that meant was a lot many more people can now participate into becoming telco providers without actually having to own spectrum. And today you are seeing that companies such as Adani, even SpaceX, all of these guys are actually coming in applying for telco licenses because you don't actually have to own the spectrum anymore. All of you already know that OSP registration was scrapped during COVID, and don't think that's going to come back. Work from home was allowed. So a number of regulatory changes have happened, and so all of this is now propelling a desire towards moving towards cloud. If you were to think of on-premise systems were to be designed for, well, premises, then the solution for hybrid or remote naturally has to be cloud. The second one is flexibility of work. We've spoken enough about it. 20% of the people like Gurmeen, right? Gurcharan. spoke about 20% of the people are not going to come back to office. So how do we now ensure that we enable them? Naturally, that has to be on the cloud. And the last one is all of us are talking about AI. See, AI was actually born on the cloud. And any stuff that we try to do around AI that is on-premise is actually sort of clipping the wings of the bird of AI, right? So you want to be able to have continuous feedback of data into the system so that it continues to become more and more intelligent from as many different sources as possible. That's not possible by creating silos. So I'm of the opinion that AI was born on the cloud, and AI will be a primary motivation why people would want to move to the cloud. Okay, so going back to the Ford analogy and what is it that we are trying to imply here. So we said that IT teams, companies, vendors, all of us, we used to actually go to these different places, stitch it all together and make it work. And that's not the most agile way of going about stuff. Instead, how would it be if we are able to now unify all of these different moving pieces and put it all together? In fact, this unification is already happening in computing, in cloud computing that is, which is to say, you don't actually now go buy a CPU separately, or a database separately, or a storage separately, or an internet separately, right? All of that is just packaged and given to you on the cloud by AWS and GCP and all of those guys. Why can't the same thing happen to engagement, to communication space as well, right? So what would it mean for storage servers, SIP trunk, contact center, software, telecom lines? What if all of these things can be packaged into one place? And how would it be if we can now make all of these things work very well with each other? And this is what we are trying to do, and this will be, in my opinion, the future of how we think about architecture and systems, and it'll pave the way for much better excellence in whatever it is that we are trying to do. So the agility quotient. So on the bottom, I have on-premise all the way to unified cloud, and then I have time to go live, which is obviously once you are on the cloud and once everything is unified, you can. We actually have a product where you can take it live in like 20 minutes without even talking to somebody. It's completely do it yourself. Now, this in itself is actually not a big deal. If let's say you have to do this once every 7 years, actually who cares? Let's take a quarter to figure this out, right? But if users are going to continue to hop on from one medium to another, if change is going to continue to happen at a faster and faster rate, then agility becomes a very key consideration when we make our systems decisions. So this is my pitch to you. So at Exotel, this is what we believe in, and we've now put together perhaps India's first full stack customer engagement platform. So we've combined what the telcos do and what the software people do together, and we've brought this into one place. So Exotel is a UL-VNO, or put it in normal parlance, we are an MVNO holder. So we can actually give numbers, we can give network connectivity, we can give minutes. We are also partners with multiple channels. We are a WhatsApp partner, WhatsApp BSP. We have direct connectivity on messaging. We have SIP trunks situated in multiple servers across all the circles in the country. And so we've now ended up created like this communication network, communication cloud, which is then being exposed as APIs for people to consume. And the promises here, of course, include scalability, security, reliability, because millions of calls are being processed at any given point in time. So there are many people who are closely looking into the systems to ensure that it never goes down and like nobody's trying to hack and stuff. Then we went one step further, and we're also now putting software on top of it. So we've now merged with a company called Ameo, which is one of India's largest contact center software providers. And now we have a POC where the contact center software is working on top of the cloud. We also then acquired Cogno AI, which is a leader in the BFSI chatbot space, and we are now bringing in the bot capabilities into the contact center as well. So once you put it all together, I think the unification that we just earlier spoke about, which is it's both the network and the software platform both in the same place, that sort of comes into existence, and that's what we're really excited about. Okay, so all of this is well and fine. What does this really mean to all of you? And I'd like to actually speak today about, there are many dimensions of what this means in terms of impact to the work, to the work that we all do. But I'd like to cover 3 points today so that it's easier for us to remember. So these are the 3 points around which I'll speak about what unification on the cloud means. First ones are, what does it mean from a channel standpoint? Channel as an SMS, voice, WhatsApp, whatever else. What does it mean from a digital automation strategy standpoint? And the last is, what does it mean to our data strategy? So we'll cover these 3 dimensions, and I think I'll speak about the benefits of a unified cloud. Okay, so people sort of interchangeably use these 2 terms, I think, multi-channel and omni-channel. In my opinion, there's actually a difference between the 2. It's not the same. So multi-channel usually means that you now have a voice practice, you also have a WhatsApp practice, you can also reach to customers on email, and so there are many channels in which you are able to reach, and hence it is multi-channel. But that's not the same as omni-channel, which in my opinion is the ability to navigate across different channels, right? So could you now start a conversation on voice, move on to WhatsApp and end it on email, and can you still ensure that all of this is stitched together well? That to me is omni-channel. Is it possible for you to ensure that the customer profile that's available in your email database matches with your WhatsApp database, matches with your voice database, and can each and every one of them augment the data that's available amongst each other? That to me is omni-channel, and which is really what we are trying to say here. So how do we move from a disconnected customer profile? How do we now, if one channel goes down, it's difficult to, for example, navigate to another channel. How do we now manage transfers, contextual transfers across channels? How do we move from a multi-channel sort of a thought process, which is still siloed, into a more holistic, unified, omni-channel sort of a thought process? So I think this is one key thought I'd like to leave with you, and one key benefit that automatically accrues when we start to think and buy unified cloud products. So we spoke about multi-channel versus omni-channel from our perspective, from the system's perspective, but we should also probably speak about it from the user's perspective, the end user's perspective. And I've just put across a little bit of an explanation here. So if you have a single channel, many single channels that are all siloed, then persons calling you on your contact center, you're going to put them on queue. Persons now sending you an email, maybe your email support is only from 9 to 5. So person's going to have to wait until somebody turns up in the morning at 9 o'clock to reply back on email, etc. Right? So this is the experience of the end user if we have a siloed multi-channel approach. Whereas here I am proposing, somebody comes in, a call comes in, can a voice bot intercept and start chatting and increasing the engagement levels? Let's say it has to get into a queue. There is a pointer. Okay. So let's say it has to, instead of putting people on a queue, can we now do what is called as IVR deflection and put them on WhatsApp so that your chat agents can continue to have the conversation? And let's say once the agents actually become free, can the bot now automatically say, hey, I got an agent for you, I'm going to send all of this context back to him and I'm going to put you back on the call with that person? Can this kind of magic happen? And when this kind of magic happens, I think we truly have an omni-channel capability. The second dimension, the second thought I'd like to leave with you on unified cloud is around our automation strategy. And specifically in automation, I'd like to speak about the rise of digital channels. Intuitively, I think as end users, all of us know this, right? So Mark Zuckerberg has ensured that nobody lifts their head out of the cell phone. We're always looking into our Instagram and WhatsApp apps. We're always typing away to glory. And we're all creatures of habit. So it is a no-brainer to imagine that we'd like to do the same, communicate in the same way with our companies as well, right? So I think slowly people are moving more and more towards asynchronous channels of communication and chat as the primary medium of communication as against voice. And so that's my experience as a user. And when we go to sell also, I think there's a lot more demand in the market for chat-based communication systems rather than voice-based systems. So here Microsoft is basically saying that users prefer to do self-serve now more than ever. So it's very counterintuitive, especially for the older generation in the room, right? So sometimes we think like, hey, if I actually have a person who's going to help me, isn't that a better thing? But it turns out that I don't know what they're called now, Gen Z or millennials, whoever they are. So these guys actually don't want to be helped by other people. I think they want to just take control of whatever it is that they are trying to do. So self-serve is being preferred more and more by end users. And here I've put an illustration where I think this is a NASSCOM study where, so this is I think specifically India, customer interaction and support market size. And so they're here, obviously they're saying that voice is growing at about 4%, which is the green part. Non-voice is growing much faster. So overall the market is still growing, but chat-based, text-based, asynchronous-based communication channels are growing at a much faster rate. In fact, in my own experience, in my company's experience, we've actually seen the bot piece being taken to the next level. So it's not just being used for interacting with customers. Many of you may actually be in a situation where maybe you're chatting to HR, thinking you're chatting to HR, but actually it's a bot. So we've actually ourselves deployed HR bots, bots for distributors, support systems for distributors, and so on, recruitment bots, etc. So bots are sort of taking over not just user processes, not just consumer processes, but even internal processes as well. So going back to the digital chat process and the efficiencies around what AI can bring about. Here I've actually demonstrated two examples, both with a leading bank. So this is the broking arm of the bank, and that's both of them are actually the securities arm of the bank. And so this is actually a WhatsApp bot that we deployed for them. It has features like you can now choose from a menu, or you can also do like free-flowing conversations with them. And so this one's basically live chat. So this is on their website. So again, you can sort of start talking here, and it also uses the audio of Chrome, I think, and it converts it into text and so on and so forth. So both of these has been very well received by the company as well as by the users. And when we worked with the company, these were some of the statistics that we were able to gather. Now one can debate whether it is 19.2 or 18.2, but I think the broad stroke is very clear, right? So it absolutely results in a good implementation of AI, absolutely results in improved customer experience and cost savings, no doubt about it. So the last part of unified cloud is data. So we'll think and speak about the data dimension. So I briefly spoke to you about CDP, which stands for Customer Data Platform, which is a new kid on the block, where they are talking about how, which is quite natural, right? So think about it. Let's say leaders in your company, including yourselves, you are probably purchasing softwares and systems that are most suitable for whatever it is that you're trying to do. So maybe you have, IT has an IT help desk system, HR might have an HRMS system, recruiters might have an ATS, and so on and so forth. And so the proliferation of CRMs and databases and systems is quite natural because people are just fine-tuning and choosing systems that works really well for them. But once you add time to it, 5 years down the line, you are now ending up with 10 systems and 20 databases, and customer data is now spread all across the systems, right? So this is how naturally a company progresses, including mine. And so there is a necessity for what we are now calling a CDP, which is can we now put in some APIs, SDKs, whatever else, so that all the data can be sucked from these different places, deduplified, and then organized in a manner that is easily consumable back as APIs by the rest of the systems. Now the interesting piece here is that once a single vendor, as companies begin to buy more and more from lesser vendors, some of these systems, some of this happens by design. For example, at Exotel, if you make a phone call from the contact center, and if you send a message through the API, and if it's the same number, if you now ask for details of that number, you will actually get both, right? So products that are being thought of and designed as unified systems have the natural advantage of offering you unified data as well. So that's about CDP. So now once you have data in one place, there are a bunch of stuff you can do with it. So agents will now have complete context, so they don't have to now scrounge around in different systems and find data. That's obvious. We can actually now engage with the users on their preferred channels rather than forcing them to operate in a certain way, because our systems now work across all the systems. And finally, this is the kind of data that bots love. This is the kind of data that we need to feed back into the bots so that bots also become more and more intelligent. Okay, so this is my visual summing up of all the concepts that I just spoke to you so far, and I'd like to maybe take a second to explain how this sort of stacks up. So we're putting the customer at the center here, and we are imagining a world where the first line of defense is through bots. It could be voice bot, chat bot, God knows, video bot with an avatar. That's the way the world will go. And all of this is now sitting on a common platform of customer data platform, which is what powers the bots. And then all of this happens on multiple channels. It could be email, push notifications, SMS, WhatsApp, Instagram, whatever else will come in the future. And we are imagining three primary applications that sit on top of it. There is this platform, which is the APIs using which stuff can be integrated into your website, into your CRMs, into your apps, into your delivery systems, whatever else, right? So I think that's the platform piece which I just spoke about. And then there is the contact center, which is omni-channel, which is bot enabled. And we're also imagining, we don't have this product right now, we are imagining, in fact, the word also doesn't do justice to what we are imagining, but some sort of a way, imagine it to be like the future of the desk phone. Like 10 years ago, people used to go to office, there used to be a desk phone, and then nowadays, all of you all are talking to vendors, partners, etc. from your personal cell phones, and there's just no way for the company to know whether you've done the call, and should we track it, like, if there are compliance issues, how do we handle it? So it's a mess. So there is obviously going to be a future of, let's just say, the Avaya phone. What is that going to look like? So that's the way we are imagining this. This product is not there, but ultimately, contact center, the platform, and the cloud phone sort of encompasses the applications. There are many more applications that we are building, but these are the last three ones. And consequently, we will be able to support pretty much all the processes, teams, functions within the company, and it sort of follows the user's journey all the way from the website when a lead is generated, sales teams, support teams, retention teams, relationship managers, and so on and so forth. And how do we now provide systems that manage all of this? So that's what we're building. I'm pretty excited about the future. So the AMEO part of our business, which is the contact center part of the business, is not new to BPOs at all. We've been serving India, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East for almost over 15 years, and Africa for maybe about 5-6 years. And all the technologies, tech-native companies, startups just love us. So if you're ordering food from Swiggy, if you're ordering a package from Flipkart, if you're taking a cab on Uber, if you're calling pretty much any restaurant in Bangalore for a reservation, it is very likely that you're actually touching upon some Exotel system or the other. So we process close to about 20 million calls a day and about 30 million chats a day, I think. Overall, 50,000 agents work on the system. So, and 70% of our revenue is from India. So all of this is actually sort of happening right here and right. So this is not like, it's happening in US or Europe. Thank you so much for your attention and time, and have a great morning.